Before there were banks, there were caves. Before there were CEOs, there were tribes. And somewhere between those two worlds, something changed. Not just how we lived, but who got to decide how everyone else would live. Tonight, we're not telling you about one battle, one empire, or one revolution. We're tracing a pattern, one that starts 100,000 years ago and hasn't stopped since. For most of human history, we mean most of it, tens of thousands of years, our ancestors weren't farmers, weren't kings, weren't employees. They were foragers, small bands moving with the seasons, following fruit, roots, and herds. Home wasn't a house. It was whatever cave or rock shelter kept the rain and the predators out for the night. When food ran low in one place, they simply moved. That's it. No mortgage, no border, no boss. Just, the food is over there now, so we go there now. And doing that, generation after generation, they walked their way across an entire planet. But here's what made them different from every other pack animal doing the same thing. They didn't just survive the world, they started reshaping it. New tools, better weapons, clothing adapted to climate, and then fire, controlled, carried, used on demand. And something else, something no wolf pack or lion pride ever did. They buried their dead. They developed language. Slowly, band by band, they became tribes. Socially, this world was strikingly flat. Work was shared. Food was shared. Not because early humans were saints, but because in a small mobile band, survival depends on it. There wasn't much to hoard and no one to hoard it from. Then the ice retreated, and with it, the old rules stopped working. Foraging got harder. Herds moved differently. Certain plants stopped growing where they used to. Humans were forced to watch more closely, experiment more. And out of that pressure came two of the most consequential discoveries in our species' history: farming and the domestication of animals. Not just for meat, either. Domesticated animals gave humans something new: access to speed and raw power they didn't have on their own. Horses, oxen. Suddenly, the limits of the human body weren't the limits of what a human could do. Farming meant more food, more reliably. More food meant more children survived. Populations that had stayed small and steady for tens of thousands of years began to climb, faster than at any point before. But growth always has a price, and this time, the price wasn't paid in fields, it was paid in freedom. Once people stopped moving, they started staying. Small communities formed, and with fixed communities came something the old foraging bands never really needed: a division of labor: who plants, who builds, who leads, who follows. That division didn't stay neutral for long. This is the moment, right here, where we see the first real social inequality in the human story. Some people started accumulating more than others: grain stores, land, livestock. And where there's surplus, there's someone trying to control it. And no group paid a steeper price for this shift than women. In the foraging world, women had contributed as gatherers, as equals in a shared survival economy. Their voice mattered because their labor mattered, visibly, every single day. But once land, surplus, and lineage became the new currency of power, women's role was redefined by the men now accumulating that power. Their bodies became another resource to control. Bearing children was no longer just about family, it became about output. More children meant more field workers. More sons meant more soldiers for the ruler's ambitions. Women's ability to make their own choices, who to marry, whether to bear children, how to live, was steadily stripped away, folded into the property and the ambitions of fathers, husbands, and chiefs. It's one of the quietest tragedies in the whole story of civilization. The very system that fed more people also built the machinery that would control half of them for thousands of years afterward. And this is the pattern we want you to notice, because it's going to repeat. Every time humanity found a new source of power, agriculture, empire, industry, finance, someone found a new way to convert that power into control over other people. Fast forward past empires, past kings, past centuries of conquest, and you land somewhere surprising, the 18th and 19th centuries. Because believe it or not, a huge amount of the economic and political thinking that runs the world today was actually built back then. Here's the twist most people don't know. Those ideas about free markets, competition, and minimal restraint on business weren't invented by workers looking for fairness. They were built by merchants and industrialists trying to break free from the control of kings and landowners. Free markets, in theory, sound simple. Everyone competes fairly and the best ideas win. Maybe once, something close to that existed. But competition has a habit of producing winners and losers, and when the winners get big enough, they stop competing. They start absorbing. That's exactly what we're watching happen today, and by every measure, it's accelerating. Economic power concentrating into fewer, larger corporations, multinationals, based mostly in the developed world, expanding carefully and strategically into developing nations. And that word, free market, does a lot of quiet work. It's used to describe a system where capital from wealthy multinational corporations can move freely into poorer nations and gradually take hold of their economies, without the enormous cost of actual war. No armies, no occupation, just ownership. It also describes something else: the ability of a small number of massive companies to influence prices, supply, and the terms of entire markets for the products and services people can't live without. And there's one more shift worth naming: the slow migration of real economic power away from making things, industry, and toward moving money, finance, from factories to financial markets, from production to control over capital itself. So here's the pattern, laid bare. Control the food, control the water, control the energy. That's it. That's the through line connecting a forager band 50,000 years ago to a boardroom today. Whoever controls the essentials controls the people who need them. And the second half of the pattern is just as old. Keep people busy enough, chasing wages, chasing debt, buying what's produced for them, that they never stop to ask who's actually holding the reins. From caves to kingdoms, from kingdoms to corporations, the tools changed. Stone gave way to steel, steel gave way to capital. But the underlying game, barely different at all. Which raises the question we'll leave you with tonight. If the game hasn't really changed in 10,000 years, what would it actually take to change it? That's the truth behind the story.